We're going to get rolling. All right, awesome. So I sent out a little bit of a snippet on what we're going to be talking about today. And just for a quick recap, first month we talked all about goal setting. Okay, so this is back in November now. We talked about how to set proper goals, how to structure them so that the work that we're doing this year has a nice tight framework that we're going to work off of. And so I wanna ask you guys, how often have you went back to look at those goals? Okay, because as we talked about, the idea is to have a rhythm of constantly reviewing your goals. And the reason I say review is because you keep it top of mind, right? Every single day. So there should be a rhythm. So if we're setting things out for weekly, if we're setting things out for monthly, there should be a rhythm on how often we are viewing those, okay? And we've broken them down into a daily schedule, okay? So we had goal setting, and now we've had, next came up was the time management. And so kind of my thought was, let's get the goals set up so that everybody's on the same page about the structure. Now let's start working on some time management, and we're working on it. I got a lot of you guys' assessments that came in about how time management is going for you, and I've got some feedback for you today. Now we're in month 3. Okay, so now we're in January, and today we're going to be talking about how to structure a revitalizing routine. And so the reason why I wanted to follow up with revitalizing routine is because I had a slight thought that maybe everyone would set up a schedule that might not be realistic, meaning you didn't give yourself a lot of variety in the schedule. It was very routine-ish, felt like routine-ish, that a lot of the days would look exactly the same, and that it would get very boring very quickly. And so, I wanted to start talking about how to put some fun into that routine, how to make that routine revitalizing. Okay, just because I use the word routine doesn't mean every day has to look exactly the same. It means that maybe there's some core pieces of that day that are the same. Maybe there's some work that's getting done that's the same. But the routine, in order for it to be revitalizing, in order for it to be something that is going to push you forward instead of something that's going to repel you, because many of us push against the routine because we want to have flexibility. We want to have this spontaneity in our schedule because it's exciting. Now that's exciting, right? Spontaneity is exciting. Randomness sometimes is exciting. Routine doesn't really sound exciting. It doesn't really sound like it's a cool, awesome thing to do, okay? And so that's why I wanted to follow up with the routine. As I looked at some of you guys' routine, I looked at what you're doing, I looked at how you're setting up your day. I'm like, okay, let's talk about how we can create this routine that is actually revitalizing. So the big framework from today is going to be, everything is going to be laid on the foundation or built on the foundation that you have to invest in yourself. You have to invest in yourself on a consistent basis. So investing in yourself is never going to come back void. So this is not going to be something that doesn't pay dividends for you. Investing in yourself is always an amazing bet. And if I don't have you as a believer on that, I just want to remind you that many of us are working so that we can serve a purpose, right? And typically that purpose is higher than us. It's bigger than us. It involves other people, right? It involves a cause that we are passionate about. In order for us to bring the energy, in order for us to bring the vitality, in order for us to show up our best self, we have to be pouring into our cup, right? Instead of pouring out all the time. right? So many of us are, we're service people. Like we want to serve. We seek opportunities to serve. We want to help. But today is going to be all about investing in yourself. And part of my intention with today's training is going to be to convince you that this investing in yourself is just as important as you working on your goals. Okay, because if we aren't investing in ourselves, if we aren't investing in who we are and making sure that our cup is full and that we're overflowing, right? Because we have to be overflowing, right? What we want to give someone else, we have to be overflowing with it. If we're not overflowing with it, then we're taking from us to give to someone else, right? And so in the routine, you could even see your goal or your vision as something else, right? So something that is taking from you. Right? If you're pouring into your dream, but you're not pouring into you to build yourself up, that's setting yourself up to crash. It's setting yourself up for, a breakdown, what people call breakdowns. Okay? And so I don't want that. All right? I don't want any part of that in PERSIST Institute. Like, I'm all about persistence. I'm all about pushing forward towards your goals. I'm all about staying after it. I'm all about hustling. I'm all about doing the work, but I'm also about revitalizing, okay? Making sure that I can show up the way that I want to show up, right? Okay, so let's do a quick recap on some of the things we talked about. So last week we talked about sleep, okay? So I'm going to do a quick recap on sleep. Now, we talked about sleep. Sleep hygiene was a big part of last month's training. 6 to 8 hours. It's going to be hard for you to convince any person in the sleep realm that you're going to be able to function with less than 6 hours of sleep at an optimal level. You're going to have a hard time. So I would say get into your brain 6 to 8 hours. You're going to have to get that, okay? So we talked about the wind down routine. Now, sleep is, and the reason why I want to start off with sleep and revisit sleep really quickly in this training is because sleep is our primary mode of rejuvenating ourselves. Sleep is the way that the universe has been structured for us. It's been structured in a way where we have to sleep. You have to sleep. Sleeping is not an option. I don't care how many guru, speaker, hustler people that you hear. Sleep is for suck, whatever they say. That ain't the truth, okay? The truth is sleep is a critical component. Critical, massively critical, okay? So we talked about how much sleep you need. We talked about getting yourself in a wind down routine, okay? Winding it down. We're talking maybe 45, 30 minutes before you go to sleep. The way that I do it is I like to read, and I'm going to talk about what I actually read to help that time be revitalizing for me as well before I go to sleep. Cool, dark environment. If you're sleeping during the day, making sure that the room is blacked out, making sure that it's cool, making sure it's at a temperature that you feel comfortable, and making sure that you're sleeping at the same time. Now, each day is going to be different, so the routine will be different. We're going to talk about making it a revitalizing routine so it doesn't feel like it's a mundane thing, but what should stay the same for you is when you go to sleep. When you go to sleep and when you wake up, that should stay around the same. Okay, now I can just teach the best that I know, the best that I have learned through all of my experience, right? And what works most effectively. Specifically what I learned at the School of Human Performance in the military, okay? So this sleep is very important, all right? And if it is possible, you want to train yourself to sleep at a specific time all the time. Okay, you want your body to be anticipating and expecting. Okay, so that is going to be my recap on sleep. So sleep is massively important. If you got questions, make sure you drop them in if you got questions on anything we're talking about. So this is just a quick recap. All right, we're investing in self. Now, one thing that I did not talk a lot about last time was exercise. So I talked a little bit about doing things that you like, that get you excited, or that get your blood flowing, but I didn't really dive into the importance of exercise and how you want to structure that exercise. Okay, so here is how I kind of do it in the grand scheme of things. Okay, you want to break a sweat. Okay, rule number one, you want to break a sweat. Whenever you are working out, you want to get yourself to a point where you start sweating. Now, a lot of people, and you know, my wife included, she wants to say she can go to the gym and not sweat. I'm not trying to mess up my hair. I'm not trying to do all this and that. Listen, you need to break a sweat. Get yourself a sweatband or something. Do whatever you got to do to catch the sweat, to manage the sweat, but you need to break a sweat. Okay, and so you breaking a sweat is kind of an indicator that you have got your heart rate and your metabolism up, right? So that you're heating your body up so that you start to try to cool it down with sweat. Okay, so that's an indicator that you're exercising at a level that's appropriate. Okay, and so the American Heart Association recommends we're talking at least 150 hours a week. So if you break that down, the American Heart Association says for you to get the optimal cardiovascular benefit of exercise, it needs to be 30 minutes. It needs to be at least 5 times a week. Some people will say, 3 times. It needs to be at least 5 times a week. And you need to get your heart rate up to a certain level where it's cardiovascular, so you're doing aerobic, okay? So, this HIIT training is great right now, and it's awesome, but you want to make sure that your heart rate is at a certain level and sustained at that level. So it gets, again, when we're doing these activities, we want to be very intentional with what we're doing. So one of the worst things you can do is show up to the gym and not have an intention for the day. I don't know what body group I'm working at. I don't know what I don't know how many exercises I'm doing. I don't know if I'm doing a treadmill or elliptical or cycle class or yoga. We have to have a structure to what we're going to do. Okay, and I'm going to talk about that as we put that into our schedule. So when we're looking into our schedule, we might say, hey, on Monday, I'm working out, quote unquote working out, but hey, maybe I'm doing a cycle class on Monday. And then, hey, maybe on Tuesday, I might be doing a HIIT cardio class. And then maybe on Wednesday, I might be doing some yoga. So this is how you bring in some variety into your schedule, so that you get excited about what you do. Now, some people, you can hit the same muscle groups every day, the same time. Every week, same muscle groups the same way every time. And some people are cool with that, no problem. For me, I like to have a little bit of variety so I can have something to look forward to. So as I'm looking on my schedule, I'm not just looking at the next workout that's coming. I'm looking at actually what I'm going to do. So I'm not looking at the next block that says workout. I'm looking at the next block that says, hey, I got the cardio, I got the cycle class on Wednesday. Okay, cool, that's gonna be cool. Like on Monday, I'm gonna get the cycle on Wednesday. Or hey, I really like the yoga class that I do on Thursday, so that's what I'm looking forward to. So we're talking about revitalizing routine, so not just a mundane, I'm doing the same thing, but creating some sort of spark, spontaneity, some variety in what you do. All right, now, on top of all of that, you need to make sure you're having fun. Okay, and so fun is critical when it comes to exercise, and there's a lot of ways that you can incorporate fun. So me, I like to play basketball. It's one of the most amazing things you can do, according to me, with your spare time. What's going on, Eric? I see you, brother. Welcome. And I think it's one of the most amazing things you can do. I love basketball, okay? And it incorporates a lot of the components that I'm going to talk about having fun with exercise. So exercise has to be fun. It can't be something that you're just saying that I have to do because I know it's the right thing for me to do, and I know I'm supposed to work out because I need to lose some weight. I know I need to work out because I need to get stronger. When you're thinking of it as a have to, something that you're just checking off the box for, it's not exciting, it's not fun, and it's something that you're not going to look forward to and you're going to try to avoid at all costs. Okay. On the other hand, if it's fun, if it's spontaneous, if it's different, right, then it's something that you could potentially look forward to. So for me, I like to play basketball. I get my cardio in when I play basketball, right? Basketball is fun for me. I spent a lot of my life playing basketball, right? One of my favorite pastimes. It's great cardio. It brings in competition, and sometimes I push myself a little further in a competitive activity than I would on the treadmill competing with myself. Sometimes when I'm competing with somebody else, I might push myself a little harder, which leads me to my second point as far as having fun. Bringing people into what you do. So, attending group classes or having an accountability buddy, having a workout buddy. So many of us try to operate in silos because, hey, I'm on my grind. Nobody's going to hustle as hard as me, and nobody's, I'm not going to be waiting around for nobody. I understand that, but at the same time, that group fitness can help to push you, and it also holds you accountable. Because if you're the only one that's showing up at the gym, who's going to know you're not there? When you don't show up, who's going to be like, hey, where you at? When you don't feel like getting up, who's going to text you, saying I'm on my way, but you're still in the bed and you're supposed to be there, right? So I'm a huge proponent having fun and also including other people into your routine, because at the end of the day, you want to do what is necessary for you to persist, right? You want to do the things that are going to help position you so that you can stay consistent as best possible. This isn't a slap to you or a knock to you because you like to work out with somebody. Oh, I'm not disciplined enough to do it myself. No, this isn't like a beat up session for yourself. This isn't a reason to say, oh, I can't get it done by myself. No, you want to put everything in place so that you can be consistent. You want to hit every point, right? And when it comes to this exercise, you want to make it fun. You want to include other people. You want to bring variety. These are all the things, right, that make working out consistently more likely for you. And that's one of the things I really like about, I'm not a CrossFitter, and I tried it for a little bit, and I think people get injured way too much doing CrossFit. So I'm not promoting CrossFit at all. People do it. It's great. I don't do it. But one of the things I like about the CrossFit is the WOD. They call it the WOD, or the workout of the day, right? Sometimes you come in and the workout's different, right? Every time you come in, it's like a different workout. You might be doing 5 of these, 10 of these, or 12 of these. It might be a different exercise, right? And I love that, because you show up and you don't know what the workout of the day is. So it's kind of like exciting, and you get there, you don't know what you're going to do. So I think that's fun, and bringing up kind of that, breaking up that routine, not doing the same exact thing, bringing in more people, having fun. Okay, now, again, American Heart Association, 150 hours, 30 minutes. And I want to talk about the heart rate a little bit. If you're working on cardio, and if one of your goals is to lose weight, you want to make sure that you're working out and you're getting the benefit. You're getting the benefit of that cardio workout, right? And so the way you know if you're getting a benefit from cardio is that your heart rate needs to be around 70% of your max heart rate, okay, for at least 20 to 30 minutes of that workout time. So you take 220 beats per minute, which is your heart rate. You minus your age from that. So say you're 40, right? 220 minus 40 leaves me at 180, okay? And I want to be at 70% of 180, right? So 180, you say 10% is 18. So what's 18 times 7? Okay, so we're talking maybe around 130 beats per minute. That's where you need to be if you're 40. Okay, if you're in your 40s, you need to be around 130 for 20 minutes of that workout. So the way I explain it is, if you're on a treadmill and you got to get your heart rate to that 130, then you start the clock. Okay, and that's when you start the clock, when the clock starts for the 20 minutes. So if one of your goals is to cut, you want to lean out, this is how you do it. 5 times a week, get your heart rate up 70% of your max. You stay at that max for 20 or 30 minutes, you're going to get the cardiac benefit to that. Okay, and we're going to talk about diet on down, which is a massive, massive piece. Okay, so again, invested in yourself, making sure that your routine is revitalizing. And so I'm diving in on how you exercise, how you approach exercise, and here's some of the things you could do to make it fun and make it exciting. Now, investing in yourself in the exercise area could include, getting a personal trainer. Now, it's an investment. It's an investment. I've worked with trainers at various points in my life. When I was in college, I worked with trainers. I've had several injuries in my life, tore my ACL, tore my Achilles tendon. I've paid trainers to help me train and get myself back to where I wanted to be. And I love trainers. They do this all day long. This is their specialty, okay? There's accountability. They push you, right? And then they can teach you a lot, especially when it comes to injury prevention. And so I think one of the best things that a person can do is invest in a gym membership or invest in personal training all day long. And the idea with this exercise piece is that you want to have the vitality, you want to have the energy so that you can bring that to what you're trying to get done for that day, right? Whatever's on your goal list for that day, as far as work, right? To get things done towards your vision. One of your visions might be exercise, but then the next vision might be building your business, so that when I'm getting ready to build my business, I'm in the right mindset, I'm in the right physiological state so that I can take action, okay? Exercise is massively important. And this is how you take exercise to the next level, is when you include consumption of inspirational stuff. So, for me, I like to work out to music. And so I talked about sleep was a quick recap. Next thing was exercise. Make sure how you make your exercise fit into your routine so that it's revitalizing, because exercise is one of the things that rejuvenates you, right? If you want more energy, you expend energy. That's one of the things that's counterintuitive in life, okay? If you want more energy, you got to expend more energy. If you're feeling tired, sometimes people sleep a lot and they're still tired, right? If you want more energy, you expend energy. That's what exercise is going to do. We're talking about energy. Now, the next thing to make your routine revitalizing is you want to consume things that are inspirational on a consistent basis. So the way you max this out is if you consume inspirational stuff while you're doing a physical activity. That's how you max it out, because you get these endorphins released when you exercise, right? So all of these neurotransmitters get released. You're happy, dopamine, serotonin, all these things get ping, 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 right? While you're exercising. Then if you drop into that suggestive language, inspirational messages, that lights you up even more. Okay, so I'm teaching you guys how to get yourself in state and revitalize yourself on a daily basis or in a routine way. Okay, so if we're working out 5 days a week, we are going to take some days off. All right, so don't get me on that one. We're going to take some days off. It's not going to be every day. So whatever your flavor is of consuming, right? If you want to max it out, you consume while you exercise. If you love to consume while if you love to consume while you're reading books, like one way I like to consume is I like to read books in the evenings, right? So whenever I'm getting ready to do my wine time, I start to read books, and I usually read an inspirational type of book right before I go to sleep. So whatever that I'm working on, right? If I'm working on my leadership skills, if I'm working on something that's new in business, or if I'm working on some new financial strategy, something that is inspirational, if I'm working on my thought process around something, whatever it is that I'm reading about or I'm learning about at the time, it needs to be inspirational, and I like to read that right before I go to sleep. Right? So I'm seeding my subconscious mind with something inspirational while I'm getting ready to go into my rejuvenating state, which is sleep. Okay. So this could be reading, whatever your flavor. Reading. Some people like watching YouTube videos. Some people like listening, audio books. You listen to podcasts, whatever it is that you do. Every single day you need to be infusing the messages, right? Inspirational, positive, encouraging messages into your routine. This needs to be a part of your routine. Maybe it's not the same thing all the time, right? But you need to incorporate that on a daily basis, because the reason why I say this is because if you don't, that's when we allow ourselves to get in states where we can get low, right? Is when we don't consistently consume things that encourage us. And then we can get ourselves in a lull. People say they're in a slump or they're in a low moment. Okay, and one of the ways to get out of that low moment is to watch things that are encouraging, listen to things that are encouraging, read things that are encouraging, right? If you want to take it up, level up, we're talking workout, listen to something encouraging, and the last piece is to speak encouragement to yourself. So these are ways to revitalize yourself, okay? So we're talking listening, we're talking working out, and we're talking speaking. So one of the things that one of the guys that I read a lot of Tony Robbins. He teaches these things called incantations. Some people teach affirmations. All these things is pretty much the same thing as you verbally expressing, right? Encouragement to yourself, affirming a thought about yourself, or an incantation is something like, one of the ones that I like is, all I need is within me now, right? And I repeat this, like, all I need is within me now. And so it's one of the things that really hits for me, and you have to find what works for you. But for me, for much of my life, it was like I needed more, I needed more, I needed more. And one of the things that I have to affirm in myself on a regular basis is that I have everything that I need. Everything is already inside of me, okay? So it's just tapping into what's inside of me. So affirming that when I'm working out, when I'm running, all right? So we talked about exercise. We talked about consuming inspirational stuff. Now we're going to talk about diet. And diet, guys, is probably a bigger piece than exercise. So if I had to put some percentages on it, right? If I want to look at the healthiness of a person, I'm going to say 25%, how much are you working out? 75%, what are you eating and consuming on a regular basis? So a lot of people are like, Tony's last name is Robbins. Robbins is his last name. So one of the, one of the things, so we're talking, Tony Robbins is the person, sorry about that. So from a diet perspective, okay, here we go. 75% what you actually consume, 25% what you do with that energy that you consume. So 25% how much you're working out, 75% what you're eating. So if you are trying to lose weight or gain weight, or pay more attention to what you eat than you do your workout routine. Pay more attention to what you eat opposed to your workout routine. So we're talking 75, we're talking 3/4 of it is what you actually eat. Now I have some very strong beliefs on diet. I'm going to give you a disclaimer right now. This is just how I do it. Okay. There's lots of amazing, great diets out there. You do not have to subscribe to my particular diet. This is how I do it. So I'm going to teach you what works for me, but there are tons of diets, tons of meal regimens that work and are effective for lots of people. This is what I have chosen. Okay, so I'll give you a little bit of backdrop into my psychology around diet. And so as I finished up medical school, as I started to practice medicine, my intern year in surgery, I trained in general surgery. So one of the very, very, common procedures in general surgery, or a lot of general surgeons go into bariatrics. And so these are, the weight loss procedures. Okay, so these are procedures, lap bands. These are, people resecting sides of their stomach, taking some of their bowel out. There's root and wise. There's all kind of different procedures that medicine has created to try to help people lose weight. And so there are some medical indications to these procedures. Now, I don't want to make this a medical lecture, but if you have enough comorbidities, if you have enough things wrong with you, your insurance will actually pay for you to get this procedure done if you're sick enough, okay? Otherwise, you're going to have to pay cash for it if, you just want to drop down to a size 0 and you're a size 2 right now, and you just want to make sure you fit in your prom dress, or whatever it is, right? So you have to pay cash for that. But there are some insurance companies that will actually approve this. There are medical indications, bona fide medical indications for these procedures. So as I'm training, we're doing bariatric surgery, and we're treating folks that have a lot of comorbidities. Folks that found themselves in a rough spot, have let their health dive. So we're talking about patients 300, 400, 500 pounds, getting procedures done, going on special types of diet to try to get themselves down so that they can have a better quality of life. Okay, so as I'm treating these patients and as I'm talking to them and I'm understanding, number one, the psychological effects. The psychological effects. So how your psyche, what type of thoughts perpetuate through the mind of a person that has let their health go. or has found themselves in a position where they aren't as vital, or they don't have the health that they want. The psychological effect that it has on you. So one, I'm looking at the patients, and I want to be encouraging. I'm encouraging to them, and we're going to do this procedure, and we're going to make it better, and we're going to get these things taken care of. But what they're consuming, how they consume, what they eat, all of these things play a role in your brain chemistry. And it plays a role, and it affects your ability to be optimistic or to be positive. So one thing I would see is patients would also be depressed. So we're talking comorbidities. So we're talking about obesity, and then we're talking about depression. So these are two totally different medical diagnoses that I would see would come together a lot. Right? And so I'm seeing other comorbidities, I'm seeing hypertension, I'm seeing diabetes, I'm seeing hypercholesterol, and I don't want this to be a medical lecture, but I'm just telling you guys, this is the framework that helped me develop where I'm at, all right? So I'm going through that, and I start to see, okay, wow, I'm looking at the diet, I'm looking at, this goes deep, guys, so I'm looking at the patients, and then I'm also looking at their family. Right? And maybe they have a spouse, and then I'm also looking at their children, or maybe they have, however kids they have. And this diet, right? This diet, which could be cultural, it could be this is what we eat in our culture, this is just be how we consume food. This is being passed on from generation to generation to generation. So from an education standpoint, from a generational standpoint, it's affecting multiple generations. A diet or a lifestyle. Okay, so I'm seeing this. I say to myself, okay, I want to make the best decision that I can with the information that I have. And so as I'm seeing patients, I'm starting to realize the American diet, specifically the American diet, leads to obesity, right? If you consume food, the American diet specifically, so we're talking hamburgers, cheeseburger, pizza, we're talking about the American diet. A lot of fried foods, a lot of high cholesterol. The American diet. The American diet leads to obesity. Okay, so I say to myself, I'm using the best information that I can. All right, here are the options of food that I can eat, right? And I can talk about this forever. I want you guys a framework. So I decided that I was going to start to change my diet because I had a lot of information that said, hey, I probably should change what I'm eating. And then I had a very interesting thing happen to me while I was at Five Guys one day. And I completely psyched myself out. I went and got one of those double cheeseburgers. I used to just love beef and meat, and oh my gosh. I got one of those double stacked cheeseburger, bacon-nator sandwiches. And it's so good. I mean, oh my gosh, it tastes so good. And so I'm biting on it and I'm eating it, and I start to have chest pain. Listen to me. My chest starts hurting me. Okay, and I'm like, am I freaking out right now? I'm freaking myself out. I'm knowing this burger that it's not doing great for me, but now I'm starting to have chest pain too. So I start to have anxiety about the food that I was eating, and I said I need to change my diet, right? So I started changing my diet. I said, what am I going to consume? I looked at all of the meats and the proteins that I could consume, and I decided to myself, based on risk, my enjoyment of it, is that I would just eat fish, right? So I would say I became a pescatarian, okay? And how I did that was that I cut out, one type of meat over a course of 5 years. So I started off with red meat, cut that out, cut out chicken, cut out pork, cut out all these things. It took me 5 years to get everything out, and then just say, oh, I'm just going to eat fish, veggies, and that's all I was going to eat. I wasn't going to eat any other meat. So from my perspective, I think a diet that is fish heavy, fresh fruits, fresh veggies, a lot of hydration, I think that's the best way to go. So that's what I teach, all right? So, and the way I want to convince you guys, not convince, but the way I want to teach this is that you want to try to eat things as close to being alive as possible. And so I talk about this a lot, but if you can't eat your food raw, if you can't eat it raw, so if you look at veggies, fruits, Anything living, any greens, you can eat them raw. And if you look at some of the other foods that you eat, you have to ask yourself, why can't you eat the food raw? Why can't you eat it raw? And maybe it's processing. Maybe it's the way that the food is processed. Maybe it's contaminated in some sort of way and you have to cook it. But you have to ask yourself, if I'm putting this, am I making the best decision with the information that I have? I can eat fish raw, right? I can take a fish out of the water, see, boom, put it in my mouth, I can eat it, right? Sushi, right? Eat it all day long. Some people say, oh, well, you can eat steak tartare too. Okay, cool. Eat some steak tartare all the time. Fine. But you have to look at why you have to cook the food, right? Why do you have to cook it? Ask yourself that. Okay, so for me, fruits and veggies, live food. So food as close to being live as possible, okay? And same thing with fish. That's all I eat, okay? So the other thing with consumption I want to talk about, and then I'll get into a couple more things and I'll take some questions. It's not just about what you eat, it's also about what you drink, okay? So hydration is massively large. And so we talked about hydration a little bit in sleep hygiene in the schedule, but you want to make sure that you're drinking lots and lots of water, okay? So your body is mostly made up of water. This isn't anything new that I'm teaching you guys, but it's the consistency in hydrating yourself, okay? And so when you're dehydrated, lots of things happen. Okay, when you're dehydrated, lots of things happen. Mental fog, fatigue specifically. Sometimes you even feel like you're hungry when you're simply thirsty. You simply just need to drink some water. And so I always encourage people, drink as much water as possible. Whenever there's a possibility, when they say the best things in life are free, it's really, really true. The best thing that you could possibly drink, the best drink that exists, in my opinion, in my humble opinion on the face of earth, is water. Okay, and so you want to consume as much water as possible. Now, do I drink other things? Yes, I do. I drink coffee, I drink juices, I drink lots of other things. My point with water is that I want you to drink mostly water. So it should be mostly water all the time and then other things here and there. And so we talked about alcohol consumption with sleep hygiene. Alcohol affects you in a ton of ways. So you want to limit your alcohol, you want to limit the sugar, your sugar intake, and your fat and your carbs. So everybody knows what's good and what's not good. So here's going to be my last statement on diet. It's simple. When you get ready to eat, when you get ready to put something in your mouth, okay, ask yourself, is this going to help or hurt my fitness goals? Okay, and it's really, really simple. If you're putting things in your mouth the majority of the day that you say, yeah, they're actually going to help me, then you're on a roll. And so that's all I would ask you to do. This is how you start to rein that in, is you say to yourself, is this going to help or hurt my diet, my health, my fitness goal? Is it going to help or hurt? If it's going to help, go ahead and put it in your mouth. If it's going to hurt, think twice about before you put it in your mouth. Now, diet affects so many things, what you consume. So I talk specifically your psychology. We talk a lot about psychology. If you're putting bad fuel, okay, if you're putting bad fuel into your body, you're not going to be able to produce a great output, especially in your mind, okay? So your mind, right, is feeding off of the fuel that you give your body. Okay, so diet. We talked about exercise. We talked about consuming inspiration. Okay, we talked about diet, and there's a lot of variety. So, a lot of people say, oh my gosh, all you eat is fish. And I'm like, do you know how many types of fish there are? I mean, come on. There's so many types of fish and seafood. The ocean is the majority of the earth. That's the majority of the earth. That's got all the fish and the seafood and everything. So no, I'm not, there's a lot of variety. That's all my point is there. So it's fine. There's a lot of variety. Okay, so there we go. That's it on diet. Okay, so I have 2 more points and then we're gonna take some questions. And before I move on to this last piece, I just want to teach for a second on understanding that your body is your temple. So understanding that your body is the vehicle that's going to get you to your dream. Your body is the vehicle that's going to take you through all of the experiences that you want to have in life. So we have to take care of our bodies. We have to take care of our minds. Okay? We have to take care of our bodies because, in the way that I frame it is, and a lot of people understand it when it comes to like consumer goods and stuff. So I say, I always say to myself, the Ferrari needs maintenance. The Ferrari needs maintenance. And in that statement, you, my friend, you're the Ferrari. So your body is the Ferrari. The Ferrari needs maintenance. So if you're looking at your schedule that you've put together and you're running and you're grinding and you're running the Ferrari into the ground, when are you going to do the maintenance on the Ferrari? Now, if you had a Ferrari, I can almost guarantee you that Ferrari's maintenance schedule will be on point. I mean, we're talking oil changes whenever it needs it. We're talking tire rotations. You are not going to misuse the Ferrari. You're not. You understand the value of the Ferrari. You're not just going to let anybody drive your Ferrari, right? You're not going to let anybody just roll up and take the Ferrari for the day. You're not going to let somebody roll up and just dump on the Ferrari. You're not going to, let someone just come up and just put bad fuel into the Ferrari whenever they feel like. Think about how you would treat the Ferrari. Now, maybe Ferrari is not your thing. Maybe a Lambo, maybe Lamborghini, maybe Porsche, maybe Bugatti, right? Maybe a McLaren, I don't know, whatever you like. Maybe a Tesla, whatever you like, whatever metaphor you need, that's you. You are the Ferrari. The Ferrari needs maintenance. So make sure that as we're putting these routines together, you aren't hammering yourself so much that you haven't spent time to do the maintenance on the Ferrari, because the Ferrari is going to get you from A to B. The Ferrari is going to be there at your grandkids' graduation. The Ferrari is going to be there when you got the ribbon cutting ceremony of the company that you want to start. Your body is what's going to be there, right? When the news comes and they want to interview you about whatever next project that you're doing. Okay, so that body is what's going to get you there. So do the maintenance, right? Do not run your Ferrari into the ground. So I hope that I have made my point there. Hope you're feeling me on that one. All right, so the last piece, and we're going to take some questions and get teed up for questions. Whoever's still on with me, because we got about 20 more minutes. I'm going to take about 10 minutes of questions, and then we'll try to wrap up a little bit. And the last piece about making your routine revitalizing, and this is critical, is for you to create daily. And so I want you to create. Now, creating could be however you want to create. And so I'll give you some examples of how I create in my life. And it could be whatever floats your boat, however you want to create. But when I'm talking about creation, is I'm talking about you taking something from in your mind and you making something with it. Okay, so it could be you doing sculpting. Maybe you like to knit. Maybe you like to journal, right? It's you taking those thoughts out of your mind and writing them down, actually creating something from the thoughts in your mind, right? So simply writing something on paper is now creating. Drawing something is creation, right? I believe in my heart of hearts that we are intended to create. We are intended to do. I believe in my heart of hearts, we aren't created to do God's handiwork on earth. And part of that is creating something, adding value to the world. That is how you put your personal fingerprint on the earth that we live in. That is how you impact the world around you, is you create something that only you create, something that you're into. Create something every single day. Okay, now it doesn't have to be this big, massive thing that you spend 12 hours on every day to create it. It doesn't have to be this amazing masterpiece every single day. It could be simply you journaling about your day yesterday. Now that could be you creating a journal that maybe your kids or your grandkids or your people that come behind you could read. That could be something you could leave to them. So that's creating. Okay, music. Some people like music. Create some music. If you play a guitar, if you play something, create some music, create a melody every single day. Spend some time creating. Take your creativeness and create something out of it every single day. Some people like art, drawing, painting, whatever it is, sculpting, molding, build something with some Legos. One of the coolest things I like to do is watch my sons build with Legos. I mean, they take some idea in their mind and they just make something with a Lego. I think it's so awesome, right? And so I think that is a way for us to revitalize throughout our week. And as we stay consistent with moving, we create. Okay, now my wife likes to dance, so she likes to create with dance, moving her body movements. That's a way you can create as well. I love to speak, and so it's one of my passions. It's one of my passions. How I create in the world is putting talks together, right? And figuring out how I could play on different emotions, figuring out how I could bring funny into my talk, bringing out maybe how I can bring some seriousness, maybe how I could bring a story that will be emotional. This is how I love to create, right? I also create playing basketball. Sometimes you learn different moves in basketball. You learn between the legs, behind the back, a spin. I can create in that space as well, create different types of moves when I go and shoot the basketball. So there's a lot of ways for you to create. Poetry is another way, which I kind of tapped on. But the idea is that you are taking a download from your brain and you're adding value to the world from it. And you're doing that consistently. And so each week you could create something different. But creation revitalizes us. When we are creating something, putting something together, we get excited about it. When it's our baby and it's something we're doing, we get excited about it. We get energized about it. And so remember, we're talking about investing in self. We're talking about how we make our routine revitalizing. And I think one of the key ways to do that is to make sure that you're creating on a daily basis. It could be very simple. Again, it doesn't have to be a big, massive thing, but I want you guys to try to incorporate some creation time. So, as you have created as you've completed the assessments, you wrote your goals out, you did your 72-hour time hack, you put your hour-to-hour schedule together, right? So now, understanding some of the things that we talked about today, and I've got one more point after this is this investing in others. Look at your schedule. So now you say, okay, say yes. I'll answer your question about the diet here. Yes. Look at your schedule and say, where is revitalizing? Have I incorporated all the things that I learned today? Is there some variety in my exercise? Have I planned in when I'm going to consume inspiration? Have I, do I have enough sleep on there? Right? Have I put in some time for creation? Am I creating during my downtime? Maybe I might put in, instead of relax, maybe I might put in something like I'm going to paint that day, or I'm going to create something, or I'm going to make some music, or listen to some music. Look at your schedule and then try to overlay it with what we talked about today. Okay, and the last thing is invest in yourself, and I want to do briefly invest in others. And so one of the key ways to understand gratitude and to appreciate your life, and this is revitalizing, right? When a person is grateful, when a person appreciates their life, they're able to bring a different energy. Okay, so instead of being stressed about what you haven't gotten done, instead of being stressed about what you don't have, try to figure out ways that you can bring more gratitude into your day, and that will revitalize you as well. And so one of the key ways to do this is to help someone that is less fortunate. And so there's tons of ways that you can do it, but I just wrote down a couple things. A lot of people do service projects. At my church, I'm in a small group. We do service projects, and so feed the homeless. We do tons of stuff, soup kitchens. We do a lot of things, but the idea is that you want to be able to help or invest or build someone else up that is less fortunate. Okay, so when I talk about in my book, I talk about comparison. So in Persist, I talk about the comparison rule. And the comparison, you want to make sure you're fair with the comparisons. So if you're looking out at someone else that has more than you, you also want to be you also want to be fair and make sure you're comparing to someone that has less than you. So you can't just say when you're comparing, if comparing is what you want to do, well, you got to make sure you're fair about it. You can't just compare yourself to people that have more than you. You also have to compare yourself to people that have less, right? So because we want to be appropriate on the spectrum of quality of life, right? You want to be appropriate about where you are. So in this case, there are some people that are less fortunate than you. Find those people and serve them. So this could be homeless. This could be the mentally ill. This could be the elderly. You know, in senior living communities, this could be going in and serving them. This could be going in playing games. This could be going in and just watching TV or hanging out and gleaning from some wisdom of some of the elderly people. Sometimes just talking to them. When I was in medical school, I had one rotation that was at a senior living facility. It was awesome. So these are all the different populations and young people. You know, I personally love children, and you know, adults sometimes adults can get under your skin a little bit, but for some reason, for me, and this isn't for everybody. Everybody doesn't love kids, but for me, children revitalize me. When I'm around children, I see how I personally believe life is supposed to be lived. They're excited. They're full of energy. They're ready to do something. They're pumped. They might cry one second, then they're laughing the next second. They are living. Their emotions are all over the place. They are living to the fullest. I love children. And so the more I can get around children throughout my day, the more energy I'm going to have. I'm not going to get on the ground and roll around with an adult, but I guarantee you I will get on the ground with a kid and I'll roll around. Right? And so why is that, right? Why? Because I want to have what they have, right? So I'll get on the ground, I'll play games, and I'll do all those things with children, right? So I love children. And so these are part of the things I incorporate. Thank God I've got two crazy, rambunctious little guys at home, and it's never a dull moment, not a second. So even when I get home tonight, it's going to be like all the way live. So okay, guys. So I'm gonna transition over to the Q&A session before we wrap up, and I got a couple questions that I'll roll through. So Kenesha asked, can you give an example of what you eat during the day? I'm happy that you shared it took 5 years to change that diet and not something that happens overnight. I agree 100% about the overnight. So a lot of people want to just do it cold turkey. And from my experience, I've seen that's a lot more difficult if you do a cold turkey. And so the idea is that if you think you're going to die tomorrow, then maybe you should go ahead and change your diet up and try to live your best life today. But if you think you got 5 years or 10 years or another 20 years, take some time to incorporate that. So some of the things that I like to eat, you know, I eat a lot of salads. I eat in the mornings. I'll eat like an alternate yogurt. So I think there's like an almond type of yogurt that I eat. I eat that with granola a lot. You know, I'll eat croissants in the morning with cheese. I love cheese, so I still eat. I still consume some dairy, which is in cheese. I'm not giving cheese up. I love my cheese. Okay, so that's my thing. You know, and maybe for lunch I might do a salad or you know, a piece of fish. And there's lots of different types of salad. Okay, so if I say salad, it doesn't have to be the house salad with the egg and some cheddar cheese and some ranch dressing. Okay, that's only one type of salad. And one of the things that has really helped me and my wife, because when I threw this thing on my wife was like, "What? Well, you're not eating anymore? What?" You know, like she was like, "I'm eating my chicken and I'm eating my bacon, okay? I don't care what you say." And so one of the things that really helped us was for us to seek out communities that were around this. So we subscribe to a few food services, and one of the ones I think is Green Chef that we subscribe to. So they provide us with meals and specifically recipes, so things that you can recreate. And so you have people that are just creative. They love cooking food. They putting different recipes together. So a lot of the food options we have gotten from some of these meal services that we've. So I think Blue Apron was one, and Green Chef was another one. So there's lots of different things that you can do. You know, pastas and seafood, and so shrimp. Like today, I had pasta Alfredo with shrimp for lunch. That's what I had for lunch, and then I had yogurt and granola this morning for breakfast. And so those are just some of the options. There's tons of types of fish that you could eat. So my suggestion, if you're looking for ideas to eat, is there's tons of websites. So you just get on old Mr. and Mrs. Goog's, get on there and Google, vegan pescatarian diets, pescatarian recipes. And there's, hold on. Uh-oh. Am I paused? Let me see. Doesn't say live anymore. What's going on? Let me see. I was watching myself and then myself went away. Let me see if I can change something here. Okay. All right, am I back on? Can you guys see me? You can hear me, but you're frozen. Okay. So, okay, I think I'm back now. All right, I think I'm back. I had a little technical difficulties there. Looks like we're good. Okay. All right. Okay, here we go. Yeah, you're paused. Okay, looks like we're good. Okay, so if you're looking for examples, my suggestion would be to go to some of the websites. Just go on the internet, and there is one specific app that my wife uses, and I'm going to ask her tonight, and I'll include that in the email that I send out. There's one app that's very, very helpful with that if you're looking for options. Okay, let me see here. Can you give some examples of what you eat? Okay, Jacqueline says, can you give an example of rewarding self for accomplishments, a small reward that doesn't cost anything? Yes. So I'll give you an example from a medical school. And so for me, I rewarded myself every evening. Not every evening, every Friday evening. So 6 o'clock on Fridays. That would be my off time. So that would be my reward if I stayed on my task throughout the day. And so that could be just a relaxed time for me. Sometimes it was a movie, and I loved watching inspirational movies. So sometimes it was watching a movie. Sometimes it was taking a drive to go somewhere that was inspiring for me. I like, visuals are really big for me, which is one of the reasons why I live in San Diego, because I get to go to the beach and get inspired by the beach and see the sunsets over the water and see the waves and all these things. So for me, downtime was actually a reward. So being able to cut my brain off was an actual reward. Watching movies at home, old movies that I have. I love inspirational movies. Taking drives or walks were rewards for me if I was going to somewhere where I could have an inspirational visual. So when I was in medical school, I was in Philadelphia, and so I love commerce, I love business, I love buildings. So one of the things I would do is if I stayed on my schedule, I would reward myself with a walk through the city. Cool, crisp night. When the sun is going down, walking into the city, seeing the lights, seeing the sunlights come up on the skyline was amazing for me. So these are some of the things that I did that didn't cost a lot of money, but it was a reward for myself. Okay, so for me, I'm really big on visuals and inspiration for my downtime, and so that's what I did for small rewards for myself. So let me see. For diet purpose, are energy drinks bad for you? Example: Monster's Red Bull. Okay, yeah. So here's my take on the Monsters and the Red Bulls and the pre-workouts. All these things, they're going to give you a rush, and then you're going to have a crash. And so are they bad for you? Hey, if you have normal cardiac health, meaning you don't have any underlying cardiac issues, you don't have any heart problems, are they okay? Are they bad for you? Maybe not bad in the sense where they're gonna make you die, but here is what I would say: be cautious about the energy drinks, the pre-workouts, all these things. One, I would ask myself, why do you need it? So first, what would be your motivation with taking it, right? And then I would address that motivation. So if it's like, oh, I don't have enough energy, or I'm too tired, well, maybe you're not getting enough sleep. If you don't have the energy, or you're tired, maybe you're dehydrated. Maybe you need to hydrate a little bit more. So I would look at why you want to do the Red Bull, you want to do the Monster. But hey, I'm a sugar and caffeine person myself. So I've had Monsters, I've had Red Bulls. I like how they make me feel. Like I'll do a Monster and I'll be like, whoa, ping, 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 for about 2 hours, sometimes maybe 4 hours, and then I crash. And so that is what, that's why I don't recommend people try to get those little small bursts of productivities and boost. I don't recommend that they use Red Bulls or Monsters, because you're going to have a crash that's going to last longer than the 2 hours or the 4 hours that the Monster is going to give you. Okay, and so I would go back and ask, what's the motivation of needing it? Same thing with pre-workouts. I've tried pre-workouts before. I was working out on deployments. I get on the pre-workout and I go crazy. I'd be like, for maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours, but then I would crash, and it would affect me psychologically. So I would have the small moments of euphoria, but then I also would have the low moments, right, where I would have the mood swings with it. And so same thing with Monsters, same thing with Red Bulls. You're gonna have the mood swings, okay? And so I wouldn't suggest them. I would look at what is causing you to want to have them, and then I would look at addressing those to see if I could address those outside of large doses of caffeine. All right, and so let me see here. Good now. Thank you. Okay. So we're right up on our time to wrap up. I appreciate you guys for your questions. I'm gonna download this and upload it in the members area, in PERSIST Institute online in the members area. And coming up, tomorrow you're gonna get an email. It's gonna be an invite for you to set up your quarterly call. So as a PERSIST Institute member, you are entitled to a quarterly call with me. So it'll just be me and you on the phone once a quarter, so every 3 months. So I'm trying to get the first quarter calls in for each person. So some folks want more kind of personalized time, more kind of personalized feedback, more kind of personalized coaching. And so you're going to get an invite tomorrow. It's going to ask you to go on, and for the next 2 weeks, you'll be able to schedule a call with me. So pick the 30-minute option, and we'll schedule that call. We'll get on there, and please, if you could, try to take care of all of the assessments beforehand. So basically what I'm going to do is, once you schedule that call, I'm going to go through all your assessments. I'm going to look at your goals. I'm going to look at your schedule, and I'm going to give you the best feedback that I can to help you push forward and see, hey, there's some gaps here and there, can fill in some gaps for you. But I need you to have all the assessments done, because I want to know where you're at. I want to know where you're going. I want to know what you're doing. I want to know what your hangups are. And so the assessments, they're not just homework. They're really just giving me an idea of how I can best help you, because I want to bring as much value as I can to you guys. And so if you're not, I got the live time I'm with everyone. We've got the accountability calls, but then now we're going to have the personalized call once a quarter. So you're going to get an invite tomorrow. Yes, if your goals slightly change, no problem. No problem with redirecting and updating. No problem with that at all. If you want to send me some of those updates, that would be great. Or if you don't have your old goals that you submitted, I can send those to you. Just send me an email and let me know. So I hope today was valuable for you guys. I'm just trying to teach you guys everything that has helped me in my life succeed. And so today, this making your routine revitalizing is massively important. It seems kind of warm and fuzzy, but trust me, when you are serving that Ferrari, when the Ferrari is getting its maintenance, it's going to be able to perform, right? But it's all based on that maintenance schedule. So, all right, guys, so we're going to wrap up tonight, and you'll get an assessment for the info for today. You'll schedule that call. You're going to get that email tomorrow, and then we're going to have our next accountability call. I think I've got it on the calendar. Let me make sure I pull up my Google's calendar and make sure I'm telling you guys the proper date for the next accountability call while I got you live. And it's going to be February 9th. Okay, so we're talking February 9th, okay? February 9th, we're going to go with our accountability call, and you'll get info. I'll follow you guys up with emails on that, okay? So until next time, God bless, Godspeed. Hope it was valuable.